Okay, so I'm gonna commentate slash explain my run from yesterday because this is pretty much the last run I'll do from this category for this category. So I want to point out certain things that might not be very easy to see with the naked eye and stuff that I'm thinking about, whatever. So just I can have like a nice commentated final run in this category. So yeah, I'm just gonna start. Okay, so first of all, I start with Cranky. Um, it's faster, but it's also way cooler. It allows you to do cool struts here at the beginning of the run, which is really appreciated. Also, two controllers allow to mash faster on that airplane. So on this waterfall, you get extra speed, and if you start pogoing, you keep that speed. And we can actually keep it all the way until that plug. Then these plugs, you can mash A to pull them faster, but it doesn't work on all of them. And this shaft section is very tricky. You want to pull back just enough, skim the surface of the water, and on this platform you want to press A to gain just the right height. So it's a lot of stuff on the first minute of the run. And this plug, I just mash it, but you can't actually pull it faster. That's a kind of example of the previous one. If I'm fast, I should barely miss that puzzle piece that I just missed, so I know I was on good pace on this level. If I'm late, I'm nowhere like near to catching it. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in 1-1. And thankfully the ending is pretty straightforward. There's like this pogo route that I use, and then I have to roll on this swinging platform that gives me a little bit more speed. And there it's just a matter of hitting this slamming platform on the very left edge, and that's it. So yeah, 1-1 causes a lot of resets, but when you get a good time, you get like that, like a low 147. Usually 47.1, 2, 3, whatever. And now, since I started with 2 players, I have to drop player 2, and there's a little bit of input lag. So I have to just do it blindly, I guess. Yeah, exactly, Nat. That's what I'm doing. So feel free to ask questions. Okay, so that allows me to... I have to drop it because it would be kind of unfair to just add Cranky out of thin air. And Cranky on 1-2 is actually slower than if I had Diddy like I'm supposed to use it, because I don't get Diddy to swim on the underwater section. Like this. So here I lose time compared to Diddy. But overall Cranky is still faster by about 3 to 4 seconds. I don't remember exactly. Like the 2-player route. Yeah, and on this platform, I want to cancel my jump with another jump, if that makes sense, to gain as little height as possible. And then descending, I have to go on the platform on the right. Diddy and Dixie wouldn't have to do that, but they would have to do a really precise timing on that bug. Yeah, thank you. Hey Alamo and the Harvest. So yeah, feel free to ask questions. I'm gonna just answer them on while I'm between levels and stuff. Okay, 1-3 has a climb that it's really hard to do, but in this run I went for a super like optimal one with Cranky. So the climb itself is a heavy reset point in the run. So it's coming up here. And a good climb, I would gain just enough height in each pogo so I can barely get into that barrel. I would never like overshoot a platform by along like a high distance, you know. And then there's a precise jump I want to, a precise spot I want to jump, so all of this lines up. So that's another kind of heavy reset point. After that, it's easy peasy. The rest of 1-3. Guys, can you tell me if the audio balance is fine? If you can hear the game and my voice, obviously my voice should be a lot higher. It's good? Great. Okay, so 1-4. At first I wanted to skip it for this commentary. Game volume could be a little bit louder. Okay, I'm gonna do that. Okay, so I thought to skip over these levels, but at the same time I kinda point some stuff out. So obviously there's that barrel skip, that there's a consistent setup for it. And just on these levels, the main thing you want to focus is to avoid the slopes, if that makes sense. Up slopes will slow you down, and down slopes will accelerate you, but only to a certain point. So in the down slopes that do accelerate you, that they're not all of them, you want to gain your max height and then jump off them as soon as you can. A good example of this is this one right here. Like, or banana, I jump. Because if I ride the whole thing, it would be slower. And aside from that, you just see me what it would look like jumping everywhere, but it's pretty much me avoiding every possible upslope and downslope. For example, this downslope doesn't accelerate me, so ideally I want to skip that. The IL doesn't skip it actually, but I want that hard refill. And also on these rails, you wanna touch the trigger on the very left as soon as possible, so this cutscene starts as soon as possible. That's one of the tricky things that it's hard to notice when you start running the game. And at the end, there's a kind of a window to buffer that jump into the barrel. So yeah, first boss Bumpy. On Switch there are 6 strats for this boss. Really sick, and those are because you're gonna see it like in 5 seconds. I'm gonna show it first. You just pogo up, boom. And I'm pretty sure that's because of 2 factors. One of them is because Puppy's hitbox is smaller, so now he hits us way less often. And Cranky's pogo, I'm pretty sure it's now has a larger hitbox. So the combination of those 2 means that we can pretty much hit Pumpy from below, which is amazing. That means we can hit him extremely early, like on this hit. We just pretty much hit him as soon as we possibly can. Like as soon as the hitbox Puppy's hurtbox becomes active, if we are there, we just get the perfect hit. And we can do that trick with 8 out of the 9 hits. The one we can do a damage boost and get a pretty good hit too. This is a setup so we can start Puppy cycle a bit 1 second earlier if we hit that big fish like high up. And that's a good Pumpy. Okay, ideally on World 1, I'd like to exit with an 857 or a really low 858, so I got my goal. Okay, 2-1. One thing I should mention that on every level, like, okay, first of all, load times got way better from Wii U to Switch, but they were extremely inconsistent on Wii U, and they're still a little bit inconsistent, and it kind of shows on level that has big load times. Those kind of levels are the first world of, I mean, the first level of every world, and like auto-scrollers in general that have to load a bunch of stuff. So on those levels, the load time, the entry load time and the exit load time might vary a bit, and that shows on the split. On this one, I learned to keep track of it, and it was a pretty good one, but I could, on the worst case scenario, I can lose like a second on those splits out of nowhere. So in this climb, there's a neat trick to get on this cycle as soon as possible, and I got it. And speaking of switches, on Wii U, you get a little bit more speed from this platform, so you can do this big jump earlier, and on Switch it's a little bit slower, so you have to wait a little bit longer to jump. Aside from that, there's a pretty straightforward section, and if you time your roll here, you can roll directly into that barrel. In general, 2-1 doesn't give me much issues, but yeah, the load time is a thing. So in this run, it was a good one. So I saved all the time that I should have. But again, there was a chance that I would have lost time. I mean, yeah, like lost a second to gold. Two is one of the first high reset points in the run. There are 3 boosts, like speed boosts that I have to get, and the third one in particular is really hard to get the full version of it. For the first 2, they're not so bad, but yeah, if you have your consistency strats ready, there shouldn't be a problem. So for this one, I set it up like this. So I start my roll when I touch this box, so that guarantees that I'll have good speed leaving the box, if that makes sense. So that was the first one. There's this bug route for the Rambi crate. You have to time these slams, so it's, the fastest way to slam that platform is to time them. This is the second boost, this is a full one into a light one, and you should pretty much always make it. And this is the last one, this is the most important one. You want to poke on that Rambi crate and then keep it all the way into this, as we call this, the Cave of Wonders.
I think I lost a little bit of speed, but that's fine.
Yeah, correct. Past me. I lost a little bit of speed, but it wasn't a big deal. The important part is to get into the cave, like not to bonk on the entrance of it.
Yeah, I lost a little bit of speed.
If I had had a perfect one, I would have not clipped and I would have gone into the cave, and I would have saved like 0.2 or whatever, but that's totally fine. Okay, this level is a global cycle, and it turns out that you can be too fast, and if you're too fast, you die. So I throw in a couple extra rolls on the level to prevent that from happening. Otherwise, I try to go pretty much everywhere. There's a setup here. As soon as I roll on the leaves, you light roll jump and then full pug, and it works on both of those leaf piles. This is one of the extra rolls I was talking about. And based on how I hit that penguin, I know how fast I am. So now I have to throw in 2 rolls. 1, 2. So I don't die. If I hadn't thrown those, I would have died. Like the wind left, the third wind would not have pushed me upwards. And this last roll is just for consistency. That last tuck can kill me very easily. Here I take off my headphones, headset, so I can hear for a specific audio cue, so I can time my jump off the vine. If you don't do that, there's like no visual cue, so you have to guess when the horn is gonna blow. Okay, second minecart level. Pretty much what I said in 1.4 still applies. There's not much more to say to it, except that it's a really cool level with really cool music and a really cool theme. I really like this level. Probably my favorite auto-scroller out of all of them. Okay, these slopes, actually many people not jump them, you have to jump them. Especially that one. If you miss that jump of the downslope, you lose like a second and a half. It's super slow. I like to dip in the water here. And again, on a downslope, you jump off it. Although I don't think this one saves time at all, but it's cool regardless. And before what we call the machine, 2 jumps. It's really important to do. Most people just do 1. But with 2 you avoid all the downslope. I know, NK, I know. Okay, so here's the one hill we don't jump off. Because if we do, then this section becomes extremely precise. Like it would be like offset, and you won't be able to land on that third tiny rail.
Yo, what's up, Presso?
Yeah, Presso was on chat. It bothers me to hear myself. I don't know if I'm higher than past me. Hopefully I am. Okay, 2-5. What is important about this? This is a pretty straightforward level. We get to use Dixie for the first time, I'm pretty sure. And the check is just to flutter as little as possible. Also here you have to hold left, which feels extremely weird in this game because you're always holding right. Yeah, so far it's pretty straightforward. On this vertical section, the main important thing is to get in the barrel as soon as you can. But if you roll jump, like here, you get a little bit of extra height that if you just jump, so that helps. Here, I want to roll over the world rest, yeah. And then a small bounce to have as little air time as possible. And on these balloons, this pattern, doing nothing, full and full, actually pushes me a little bit forward. I didn't know that until very recently. But if you land on the right edge of one of these balloons, they push you a little bit more to the right than if you just do a one on flat ground, if that makes sense. So it's a cute, like an IL trick that saves like 0.2 or whatever. Six is another global cycle level. I have to catch a cranky cycle, which I'm pretty sure we all pretty much always do, but the main time saves come from having a good intro and ending. For the good intro, you wanna not pull back on that roll jump into the bells, which I managed to do. But if you go for it, you have to do a medium roll jump, so it's kind of risky, but I'm comfortable with it. Aside from that, on these vines, there is a way to speed them up. You have to grab the very beginning of the vine at a certain angle. And if you do it properly, you save like 2 frames every time you do it. But it's not as easy. Here I'm trying to do it on some of them, but I'm probably not saving time in a lot of them. It's much better to play it safe if you're doing RTA attempts. So here comes up the cranky. You pretty much always get to it where he's on the middle of the cycle like that. It's never like super late or early. For the most part, you can just have fun on these vines. It's really hard to lose time. This one coming up is really important. You want to grab the lowest part of this one, because that will give you the most speed when you roll here. And then climb section applies the same as everything. You want to gain as little extra height as possible, so carefully adjusting your height so you don't spend too much time on the air. So yeah, that ending climb wasn't like perfect, so that's why I lost a little bit of time, but the intro was really good. Okay, Scowl. This is a really hard boss when you're starting to run the game, but once you develop the muscle memory for it and the main pointers, it's not that bad. And that applies to either both funky mode and original mode. So on phases 1 and 2, he'll give you 3x, which you can use to hit him super fast, like here. And there are ones like you can grab those eggs while you bounce on the way up, which is obviously a lot faster. And it's not as bad as you might think it is. Okay, phase 2, the same thing. Except you have to be very careful with these eggs, because there's more spread apart. So I go over under that owl, so my egg is safe. Yeah, easy peasy. It's better Hydras. There are like 2 total seconds of time lost in this run. Okay, so phase 3 is the one we have to wait for the longest, because it takes like 40 seconds to spawn the eggs. I call them eggs, I know they're like tiny owls or whatever, but I got used to it. But yeah, if you do NKB's TM triple A press, you can full jump off the owl and not risk to kill them, which is amazing. Before we used to have to time it just in case. And here there's a setup, so we can both hit Skull with the egg and land on him at the same time, which allows us to save 2 or 3 seconds.
I've been playing well today.
And yeah, past me saying that this is the last run of the day, and I said 2-3 instead of 3-3 like a moron. But yeah, I'm saying this is my last run of the day. And I knew I was playing well this run. I mean, this day in particular. But I didn't want to push my luck. So 3-3 is a major rank killer, so that's why I said that. Okay, 3-1. The same thing applies that of what I said in 2-1. It's a bit of a weird load time. I can lose random amount of time, I can gain a random amount of time. And on this level it really shows because it's global cycle, so I should theoretically always beat at the same time. If everything worked properly. Now, a little bit, there are two differences with Wii U. Both of them are bad. On this section, while you wait for the cannon, this part can lag, which is awful. I'm pretty sure that's like a side effect of the game being scaled up to 1080p. But yeah, if it happens, you lose time, and funnily enough, the global cycles get offset a little bit. So for example, this barrel that is always on Cranky would be on Dixie if that happened. So that's why I don't go for the stupid puzzle piece or whatever, because I believe it could create potentially extra lag, and I want to avoid that. And the other change is that the physics of these snakes at the ending changed. So on the final snake, I want to be shot upwards into the barrel on the next one. And on Wii U, you can go a lot sooner. Now I have to go later, and I have which causes me to have to roll from right to left. On Wii U, I could jump earlier, and I rolled from left to right. But if you jump at the same time that we used to do on Wii U, you get shot straight upwards and you get on top of the snake and it's super slow. So yeah, you see I lost 0.5 to gold. That 0.5 is just a low time stupidity. Like, I can't do anything about it. Kinda, yeah, that hasn't really changed since a lot of years. Okay, this level, I love running this level. I think it's super cool. We can do this cool trick at the start to let's clip into a flower, and then we turn around and medium roll jump into that owl and allows us to skip a platform. Despite that, it's a pretty neat pogo route. I sit up here with a roll, and I should keep doing full pogos until almost the very end of this section. And that's... on this section we have to wait for that big fruit to open us the path. But now I'm trying to do a setup so I can get a super like juicy ending. Like that, to curve around the rock. So that's why I don't collect the puzzle piece anymore, or rather I don't do the puzzle jumps anymore.
I'll do what I can. If
I sacrifice the puzzle jumps for speed.
If I don't get a good launch, then
Yeah, I'm saying that...
GG.
what I'm saying now is I feel pretty comfortable with the trick coming up. It's the most famous trick in the run, I'm pretty sure. But I'm pretty comfortable with it if I get a good launch out of the tornado. If I don't, then GG. So at this point I know I have good speed, so I know it's up to me. And actually I knew that it was really good speed. So that means I can be pretty... I just need to get at a certain height through that tornado and I'll be able to pass it. If my speed is lower, I have to go through a really specific part of the tornado, but the higher my speed, the larger my window to go through it is. Yeah, so that trick saves 15 seconds. And I got pretty consistent at it. I would say like 80%. What determines how much speed you get? It's a combination of how you enter the tornado, when you press right, what roll do you do after the tornado? It's a bunch of things. What part of the animation the tornado is.
Yeah, that was great speed.
But all of that combination needs to be above a certain threshold. So yeah, you could see that I pretty much tied my gold. I'm happy with either runs that lose a second to this. So yeah, as far as I'm aware, I can lose a second on to that split, and I would be totally fine with it. So that's like an extra second as a bonus. On neither run, I'm expecting to get that time save. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, this level is super straightforward, and most people used Dixie or use Dixie. But turns out Diddy is just as fast as he's on cycle if you do the intro properly without slowing down. So I'd rather use Diddy. So this slowdown hopefully sets me up to do the fire drop that skip, but I barely didn't make it. Like it hit me on the hat pretty much. But that's fine, it's only saves like half a second. And this is like the most boring level in the run, except that we're trying to get a super early cranky cycle. But over the time, it's been pretty easy. Based on this cutscene, I know how fast I mashed, and if I time a roll,
Like the last frame, holy shit.
yeah, if I time a roll, I usually get it. But on that attempt, I mashed the cutscene pretty slowly, so I had to get a really good roll to make it, but I did manage to get it. Also, complementing what I said on 3-4, I was gonna say people use Dixie, but I have to say, like, people pretty much don't run this category anymore. Funky is more fun and whatever, but I still wanted to get a good time because based on Wii U, I knew that what was possible to get here. But if you right now look at the leaderboards, that's pretty much a joke in this category. But I still wanted to optimize it. Yeah, as you can see on this level, you pretty much hold A and you're on the clear. Oh, and I also, I'm rambling, but on this version, the boss RNG is completely removed. So, well, boss pattern RNG is completely removed, so it makes it grinding a lot less stressful than it was on Wii U. So yeah, 3-5 is another of those levels that can eat a little bit of time from me. On this attempt, it took 0.2, and it can also rob me a little bit of time on the exit of the level, on the exit loading screen. But that's good because I usually lose like 0.5 on that split. Obviously it shouldn't happen because it's an auto-scroller, but it happens regardless. Okay, 3B is one of the coolest levels in the run. It's not too bad, but you have to have the specific cues to do all your jumps. For example, here, if I miss some of these, I'll end up like really high in the screen, or that bird will hit me. So it's a cool level, but the window for the route, like the jumps and pogos, it's really specific. Except for this one, this part, you just jump at the end and you full pogos and it works. And here you just need to be careful to not lose cranky. If you shot too early, you barely get clipped by the thorns at the end. Also, I forgot to mention, on Scowl, on 2-boss, I want to exit with a 2330 or 29, so I managed to do that. So for now, I'm hitting like all the times that I want in a run. Okay, this boss, everyone hates them. I'm kind of fond of them because I really felt they were really misunderstood in Wii U, and it helped to understand them a little bit better. But they're still a pain in the ass. although with Cranky's Kane buff, if I want to say it like that, the hits became a little bit easier, so there's not near as much of a struggle as before. And the RNG being gone helps a lot, especially on this section. Here they will always be low enough so I can hit them like this. It will come down, pull out the bomb, and then I manage to hit him. Well, not the bomb, the fruit. But on Wii U, they used to, the height they would come down, it would vary. So you could easily lose like 10 seconds between best and worst possible luck, which was awful. And if you didn't know the backups properly, you could lose like 20 to 30 seconds. If you don't believe me as a newbie. Yeah, and for this part there's a little bit of a setup. So I want the monkeys on the top of the stage to swing as early as possible. If I don't do that setup specifically, they can walk before swinging down, so that's obviously slower. So that was really good. Yeah, and this is my base pace ever up to this point. I usually like a sub 36 makes me happy. But yeah, 57.1, it's pretty insane. And it was in part of thanks to the great speed I got in 3.3. Okay, so see this this possible time save of 4:42. That shows exactly like what I'm saying about the load time thingy. I have time save here, but it's usually 3 seconds. If I play perfectly, it's 3 seconds. But just one time, the level loaded like a second and a half faster, so I got that gold. It's one of those bonuses that I try to not think too much about it. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to aim for a specific time right now. I just wanted to have a run with no major or medium mistakes. I just wanted to play well across the whole run. So yeah, as you can see, Diddy is insane underwater. It's extremely fast. And we're trying to do... Oh, by the way, this is the only trifecta in the run. We get to see all 3 Kongs in this level. All 3 partner Kongs, I should say. So yeah, that heart it's luck dependent. And if I do get it, I can damage boost an extra time there. But yeah, all that was to try to catch that DKC cycle. I'm pretty sure Dixie and Diddy are the same, under the same speed. Nice bonk there. That bonk cost me like half a second. But if you get Dixie, you get a refill, and this swimming against currents, it becomes much easier instead of having to do the Diddy strats, which is a bit of a pain, and it's easy to lose time too. So yeah, you just start hurtling early so you can cut those corners, and you want to land as soon as possible after exiting the water, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, so I save 2.5, but I usually save 3, and that's because of that tiny bonk that I had. But again, that's totally fine. Okay, now, these levels used to be my favorite. I'm pretty sure it still is, but now it's kind of weird because you used to be able to see all 3 Kongs too, and you got to the secret exit with Cranky, which was super cool and super easy, extremely easy. Everyone could do it. There's a setup for it, and you just press A. But now I decided to try to get to the secret exit with Diddy, which I don't want to take like false credit for it. We all know it. We all knew it was possible like from years ago, but it was considered way too risky, and it is. Like, this is not a marathon safe strat, and if you fail this, your run is over. There's no recovery from it. You lose like 2 minutes because you have to exit stage. So the way it works is you do this, you go past the owl, you turn around, you do a medium roll jump into landing on top of the owl. It has to be on top. And then you have to delay your full jump so you have enough height to get to the line. And on this level it loses like 2 to Cranky, I'm pretty sure, but starting with Diddy on the next level, it's extremely beneficial. Yo, what's up? Yeah, so it's extremely beneficial because we normally if we had Cranky here, we have to corkscrew and then wait for Diddy. But now with Diddy right away, we can just swim and it's super fast. So here, see that barrel? We would wait for the next Diddy, not that one, because we can't get to that one. So on this level, having Diddy from the start ends up saving like 6 seconds. So overall, this trick saves 4 seconds. But again, it's extremely difficult. Mainly because it requires all the things I said, the medium jump, delaying and stuff. And this level itself is really difficult because there are these room transitions. We wanna get really specific outcomes out of every portal for us to save time. The main way to manipulate that is that if you enter through a portal in the middle, you will appear in the next room like pretty close to the portal, but then the water current is gonna push you a lot. But if you enter through the side of a portal, you will appear much farther in the next room, but the current will not push you at all. So depending on what you want to do on the next room, you want to manipulate that portal in the way that you want to be able to move. So in this here, I do a really risky shark skip, which I didn't used to do, but the damage boost that I do earlier is worth it. But yeah, in this level, it's extremely hard to learn, and the level itself is really hard. And it doesn't help at all that there are no checkpoints, so if you want to practice it, you have to do the whole level on time attack or whatever. It's a pain to practice, but if you do manage to master it, you can save easily like 5 seconds over just winging it. Okay, 4-5 is one of the hardest levels, but I've become over the years pretty comfortable with it. Like, I'm usually not scared of this level at all. The only thing that it's worrisome is, well, the first bomb throw that I did, that I got it. And on this part, you can actually do this section a bit faster than what I do. But it's not good because you have to catch a DD cycle and you would be too fast. Okay, so for this, that one right there, it's another medium roll jump. Those are the worst because you have to basically like wing them. You have no set for them. So I know that I did everything right, so I knew I was gonna get early on DD, and if I get early at that pace, I can just manipulate the next blade to not hit me. I just need to grab the DD barrel from the right, and then I'm safe from the hit. And then create skip. It's pretty easy if you know the visual cue. Yeah, it's a bit of a pain. I guess he meant to learn it properly, NK, like I was saying. Like what I was explaining about the portals. Yeah, for 6 we have to catch 2 DD cycles, not just one. And they used to be pretty hard, but now what usually happens is that I'm too fast for the first one. So I try to lose time in a couple of specific sections. So here, for example, I go below that urchin, which is a little bit slower than the optimal strat. And here I do a woohoo out of the water instead of canceling the woohoo, so that will let me like kinda get to DD as early as I possibly can. This section gives people a lot of trouble because it is a huge pain in the ass because you have to avoid all the corners, but once you get used to it, you learn like what walls you can hug and how to avoid the corner bonks. Okay, so I knew that I got pretty early on the first DD, so I know that I'm gonna be early, like just on pace for the next DD, so I just go, I don't worry about anything. And see, it was a pretty early DD. On this section you can also be a little bit too fast, so I just do a short rocket boost after the G, like that, and wait for that saw. And then hitting this from the top makes it a bit easier too. I mean, it's faster, not easier. Usually people wait for that spiky ball to clear. No, okay, there B in returns.
For the love of God, please be nice.
Okay, so Fuga to this point, every time I've been on this base, pretty much every time, he gave me no hearts. So you know what I said, like boss RNG is gone? Okay, boss pattern RNG is gone, but on this case I need the drops. I need the drops to be good. So on this hit, on the next one, yeah, I need a heart. On one of those two. And I need that to happen twice. It sounds like I should get lucky for that to happen, but honestly the drop rate, it's super in my favor. So on that time I got both of them. And if I got both of them, then the rest of the fight is up to me. I know I don't need the hard drop on the third phase. Although I did get it.
Thank God.
Yeah, so if I don't get the hard drops, the run's over. I lose like 10 seconds, and I can't come back from that, obviously.
I just need to play well, and my PC has to not crash.
Oh yeah, I've been on this space once before, and on that run, my PC crashed,
And
which
5-6
was
has to not reject me, and
which was extremely sad.
Everything else is up to me.
So at this point, I'm just relieved, but I'm kind of worried about my PC crashing and stuff. Okay, the good part is that, at least in my opinion, the run gets much easier from this point onwards. Like, before this point, I have to worry about Fugu, about Dosito, about 4A, about 2-2, about a lot of stuff. After this point, I pretty much have to worry about playing well. I don't need to rely on a very specific trick. Talking about that, on this level is clearly like pretty hard, but if you have like really specific cues for everything, it really becomes super easy. For example, here I know exactly when I can jump off this cart, I should say. So that parts become super easy. Then here I know when to jump. Same here. And here I know on the third banana I can just roll jump off. And if you do everything correct, you will have you have full health entering the last section, which allows us to take that extra hit, and it becomes way easier. If you don't have that extra hit though, then it would be a lot harder. What's up, one? Okay, on this level the most important part is to jump to that rocket barrel. Because for some reason on Wii U we could just roll, like keep rolling, and we would enter the rocket barrel, but if we didn't switch, we roll under the rocket barrel and we just die. It's one of the most random changes across versions. Yeah, I should honestly skip this or speed this up. Can I do something like that? It's not fast enough.
Don't mention those curves.
Velocidad normal. Yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna manually skip over it. Yeah, so yeah, it's a rocket barrel level, same as 3.5. And for the ending, we just need to get to the end barrel as soon as possible. Yeah, like that. Okay, so since my PC didn't crash, I get to enter this level for the first time on this pace, and I'm kinda freaked. I'm a little bit freaked out about it. There's a little precise trick here to avoid taking damage for the blade, which looked good, but somehow the blade still got me. So I have to wait a little bit to get that backup cranky, because I have to take a damage here. So that cost me a little bit of time, and I remember I started panicking a little bit.
I'm playing way too safe.
Yeah, as I'm saying there, I started playing like way too safe, so that's obviously pretty slow. So I'm trying to get my composure back a little bit. This section is really dangerous because I do this route. That route allows me to not have to stop ever. Usually the strat was to pull back a little bit. And there I just messed up my input. But nothing terrible, considering how much nervous I was.
I'm gonna lose a little bit of time here, obviously.
Yeah, like I said, that was like the worst level so far, but it was like nothing major. I think it was 2 seconds to gold, but considering how nervous I was, and I got pretty unlucky with the first blade, that's totally fine. Yeah, that's like nothing.
Yeah.
But to be honest, this tiny mistake helped to get my composure back for the rest of the run. I don't think I would have been able to handle it if I kept playing like
I got hit on the first blade.
flawlessly.
On the first blade, though. I thought I did it fine. Must have been the first roll after the cannon shot.
Yeah, 5-4, it's one of the, if you wanna look at it as an IL, it's one of the most complete ILs. You have to do a lot of stuff. You have to swim, you have to grab stuff, you have to throw stuff, you have to pull back. For example here, that pulling back to land specifically there, it's really precise. Then having an optimal like grab vine here, it's also really precise. It's immensely technical, this level as it is. On an IL or in the run. On this bomb throw, there's a neat little trick, so we don't ever have to hover. I mean, we do hover, but the animation kind of gets jammed, so we don't get the hovering speed. We keep hovering, but with the rolling speed, which is amazing. And Diddy on this, the reason why we want Diddy instead of Dixie is because this water section is much faster with Diddy, as you should probably know already. And with woohoo canceling there allows us to get to this platform early, which saves a cycle, which is pretty much mandatory on this route. And there I had to pull back a little bit, otherwise that second platform, it's not gonna be there when I get to it. And ideally I wanna do only 3 corkscrews while getting to the portal, but I got like 3.5, which is not so bad. The meme is to always say 4, 4, 4, but you can get it. You can get there in 3. Aiden, you know I did. I showed it to you. On stream, on my replay. Okay, 5B is another global cycle level, and this one, it's, I would say, not so bad, but you have to set it up properly on the correct parts of the level. So for example, I know here that I can go as fast as I want, and if I do that, I can climb that, like, without rolling speed. And now I wait for a specific visual cue before rolling, so I can now just keep holding right and shoot this cannon as soon as I get to it, like that. So if I'm fast, I know that these platforms coming up are gonna look a certain way, but they didn't look that way, so I want the top route. That's like the backup you can do. But because it is a global cycle level, that doesn't really matter. I just need to walk, and that's what bottlenecks me. That last thumper with the spikes on the ceiling. So that was pretty much perfect. What else? 5, 6. It's so hard. It's one of the few levels that it would be really interesting to have a controller can because you have to do a lot of technical stuff. Unfortunately, it also has one of the few RNG elements, if you want to call it like that, because it has the oscillation, which is like the random rejection that you can get on a watermelon. We can avoid the first one by setting up like I did on the intro, but the second one, that's on the last portion of the level, that one can take away 5 seconds from you. Easy peasy. So far everything's going correctly though. And here there's a strat that I could go for, but I don't go for it just because if I do it, which would recover a damage boost there, I could very easily lose Cranky at the end. So on this watermelon, I can get shoot to the left. That would be the rejection. And you see how I didn't like duck while I won on the slide part? Yeah, on that part, if that happens, I would have lost Cranky if I had taken the previous damage boost. So for that reason is that I don't go for that.
If I go for it and that happens, then I lose Cranky.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And if I lose Cranky, Bashmaster becomes like half a second faster.
Okay, I haven't
just because you don't have the risk of dying to. I mean, you don't have the risk to losing Cranky, so you can play Bashmaster a bit riskier, if that makes sense.
Don't want to lose Cranky in a stupid way.
But the fastest scenario overall is to keep Cranky throughout the whole fight, so I don't have to grab him again in 6-1.
This one I have to take a hit.
Reaction? Yeah, hang on a second. Well, actually I don't, but I have a theory. So this hit is insanely important because if you miss it, you lose 20 seconds because we have to basically cancel an animation. And if it's correctly cancelled, then it swings his hammer. And we can move on to phase 2.
The next 3 hits.
And yeah, rejection happens because
Please don't screw me over.
Because if you are on certain like frames of your rolling on animation,
Thank you.
I mean, it's kind of like 3-4, the fire drop skip, that if you skip over certain frames, you get screwed. Yeah, so if you go too fast, you skip over a larger amount of frames, correct? So if you skip over too much of them, that the collision will get messed up and the game will think, okay, you're bonking into the watermelon, you're not like rolling over it. So the faster you go, the more likely for that is to happen. That's how I understand it, at least. But yeah, it's an oscillation problem, the thing that DK rolling is not always the same hitbox or hurtbox, if you want to see it like that. Yeah, phase 2 is incredibly monotonous. We just wait for half an hour for him to be hittable. You can, like, there are speed checks and you can speed up the fight, but like, I would say 90% of the fight you're just waiting. So this is another hit that if I lose it, if I miss it, I lose 20 seconds. So I have to be very careful on that one. You can also damage boosting that hit is also pretty fast, but again, you would risk losing Cranky, and it's really not worth it. Because if you lose him, you have to grab him on 6-1, and that loses automatically 2 seconds, and you risk losing. I mean, the risk of gaining time. I mean, okay. The reward is like gaining like 0.1 or something.
Next 2 levels are in.
Yeah, I'm gonna speed this up. I should have done this before. Okay, 6-1 and 6-2 are super scary because there are really specific tricks that are above pits. So if you fail those, you just die. Well, not on 6-2, but on 6-1. You just die, and on 6-2 you lose your extra heart, so that's terrible. So here there's a trick shot into the Kira under, over into medium roll jumping into a light pogo into that tiny little platform. That whole sequence is pretty stupid, but you can get good at it. Okay, this swing used to be a pain, but turns out if you full jump at a specific visual cue, you always can get up there. But it took, I'm not kidding, like years to find that visual key for that, because that part is in general like so jank. And again, first level of every world can't steal away time from me. In that attempt, it stole half a second away.
Absolutely, yes.
What do you mean? What is the new time? And yeah, I agree. Funky 60 on funky mode is extremely easy. The extra hits and being able to double jump across everything, it makes it extremely free. I am never worried. But on this, you wanna hang. I mean, you wanna conserve your hearts as much as you can possibly can. On that ice hill, there's a small speed boost that you can keep all the way until this block right here. So I managed to do it, but you have to do like a medium pogo section, which is really difficult. And here is the 1 damage boost that you want to take. It saves like a second and a half, if I'm not mistaken. Another ice hill, another tiny speed boost, but that one's pretty minimal. And here we wanna pogo across all this section and duck under that blue hoods. Getting hit by that blue hoods is extremely easy. If you overjump or underjump, like overshoot or undershoot that platform, you will get hit by him. So I need to be extremely careful with that. And if I lose, if I get hit by that blue hoots, I lose Cranky, so that's terrible. That's why a lot of people prefer not to take the damage boost that I took earlier, so that blue hoots doesn't kill the run, basically. Shut up, Oscar. But you'll be spoiled, Wano, but yeah, it's... You'll see in a little bit. But someone in chat can tell you if they want. Okay. Okay, if you manage to survive 6-2, then 6-3, and 6-3 is much easier. The only speed check is like this. Another ice shield means another slight speed boost. And turns out that speed boost is a little bit higher here than on Wii U. They changed it for some reason, so I don't know if Ice Heals period gives you more speed, or if it's just a consequence of something else, but it is faster on Wii U. Despite that, it's just a normal platforming stage. Here a little bit of a climbing section, which every rule applies. Not overshooting the height by too much. It was yesterday. Yeah.
Okay, this is the last level that can rob me time with loading times. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but it usually happens just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm saying what I was saying before about the... Again, first level of every world can rob me, and levels with long loading times. So in this case, there are the auto-scorers. So this loading screen can rob you time, but usually it's not the case. This time I thought I did it perfectly, but I got hit for some reason. Oh yeah, I didn't local record.
I can't believe I was too late.
Okay, I'm gonna speed this up because nobody cares about this. What you need to know about 6-4 is that it's really difficult, but it's not a big deal, and it's mostly considered the precursor to 6-5. It's like the calm before the storm. This is what it is, Wano. Let me... I made a command for it. Yeah. So the only other speed check is getting a good ending here. You just roll jump into pogoing and then end barrel.
Would have golded without the
So yeah, I got a good loading time. So getting hit wasted half a second. So if I hadn't got hit, I would have golded actually.
The shop always debates me.
Yeah, so on funky mode and on Wii U, 6-5 was like the climax of the run. It's so hard to get through this level. But actually now it's not that bad at all. It's nowhere near like the hardest parts of the run. And that's because, well, the first boost was always consistent. This is the first boost. You just pogo, pogo, roll under, light jump, pogo. Although I have to say on the run, I almost like spaced out during this section. I was autopiloting and I realized it just in time. But yeah, the reason why this level was so scary on Wii U was because of this second boost that only like very top runners went for. But on Switch we discovered that you can use a trick to make this boost extremely consistent and faster, which we never found on Wii U. And that's why this level is much easier than before, because that was the hardest part of the level by far. once you get through that, you can just do this section which has a setup for it. It's almost full pogos basically. It is one. But I'm gonna go to another game and then I'm gonna come back to funky mode. I'm gonna say more about that at the end. But yeah, that was a really good 6-5. But at this point I'm freaking out. Because I know that there's much less of it. Okay, I should say I'm extremely comfortable with the last 4 levels in the run. So knowing that made me really anxious, if that makes sense. I know that at this point the run is mine to choke. So this I have to be a little bit slow so I can catch a DD cycle as soon as I can. If I'm too fast, then I get into an awkward spot to get that Dixie. But if I do it like that, I can do it like this. And I get to the Dixie as pretty much as early as I can. Here there's a really specific bounce that I want to get, and I didn't get it, but I got the second best version of it. And here you want to set those up so you can just full bounce out of the second guy. And if you do that right, you can barely grab that vine. So all that section is like connected. So I knew I was a little bit slow because if I'm perfect, that barrel is on Diddy. So it was just barely turning, like switching to Dixie, so I knew I was a little bit late, but that's totally fine. And that climb, I played it a little bit safe. Because you can go ham with it, like do super precise flutters into the next platforms, but I wasn't gonna risk this run over that. Yeah, so I gained a little bit. I could have gained an extra second, but that extra second it would just come down to, well, getting the super optimal part that I didn't get and an optimized climb, which is extremely hard. Okay, 6-7. I remember thinking that I don't remember the route. In general, I don't remember the route for these levels. I just let my muscle memory carry me over. I mean, like muscle memory take over and carry me. Especially when you're this nervous during your run. But I knew that if I play well, then nothing weird should happen on this level. The only thing that I was worried about is that I made a new setup for this. Oh, also, this used to be a Dixie level, but Cranky is much easier than it looks like. There's one hard jump that I'm gonna point out. It's coming. This is the only hard jump. You have to jump there specifically. But everything else, it's arguably easier than Dixie. So yeah, what I was worried about here was a new setup that I did. So here I light jump, full pogo, full pogo, full pogo, wait, roll jump, and that should barely let me get into the platform, and it did. But on the run, I thought I did it too early, so I thought I was gonna die. I was sure I did it too early. But just because of thanks to the setup, I golded that level.
I thought I waited for.
Yeah, and I'm saying that I was sure I was dead.
And my heart kind of stopped.
Yeah, after that, my heart was on my freaking throat. I could feel it trying to get on my neck. Like get out of my body. Okay, so 6-8, the same thing applies that on 6-7. I don't really remember everything, but muscle memory pretty much carries me, if that makes sense. There are a few specific parts where I consciously know the setups for, but most of it I'm just letting muscle memory play the level. Also, it's a really tough level to end the run because you have to wait so much on those parts. So I try to make setup for this. So here I do full pogo, full pogo, full pogo, land on a specific part, and then roll jump, and then I get a pretty good timing into the next platform. I play these barrel shots a little bit safe than I normally do because obviously I'm on this base, the base that I always wanted, so I don't want to risk it. There I lost a little bit of speed, but nothing major. And here's a setup. You full pogo, light jump into full pogo, and you can catch that platform very high up. You can do something similar here, but I mean you could do, but there's no setup yet for that. So you just have to wing it. Yeah, and based on the music, I was a little bit late on this level, but perfectly fine for how nervous I was.
I need to calm the fuck down.
Okay, so for the last level, I'm extremely under pressure and I have to get 3 out of 3 early throws. 3 out of 3 early throws.
So hard. Holy shit, dude.
Which I normally can do, but I don't know, dude. I was so nervous. So out of all of them, the first one is the most important one because it sets the next two, and it's the easiest one. So if I fail that one, then it's run over pretty much. I'm not gonna get the next two. And after that, I need to get the hits. But yeah, after that, I need to make Frederick jumps 3 times, and I do. And those jumps, the shorter they are, the faster obviously it is for me.
This second early throw under pressure is gonna be impossible.
Yeah. The hardest one out of the early throws is this one, the second one, because setting it up is pretty difficult, but you also you need to throw the enemy in a very specific window. You have, if I'm not mistaken, you have only like 5 frames to throw the enemy. And you can see right here, I didn't think I was gonna get it, but I got it. That was probably like the last frame it would have worked. If I had shot like thrown like a frame too early, it wouldn't have hit him. So since I got the 2 early throws, at this point I'm 100% sure that I'm gonna get the third one, because the third one becomes super free if you get the first 2. So I'm just trying to calm down and focus on the 3 actual Frederick hits. Also, by the way, headphone warning. Kinda. I still had the compressor on, but headphone warning if you haven't seen this. Okay, so the third one. I know I'm gonna get it, I just need to shoot around there and I got it, and I get it every time if I get the first 2. And then the last 3 hits, I just need to nail the timing.
Yes!
Jesus. Yeah. I was I was so nervous that the only thing I wanted to do was make some tea. So I went to my kitchen and started boiling water. That's why I left the headset and went AFK for like 3 minutes. I swear, I felt my heart in my fucking throat. I could feel it. I needed it to calm down. But yeah, this is exactly the run that I wanted. I got every trick. The mistakes that I made were minimal. I'm like 15 seconds off my sum of best. There's nothing more I can do. Without actually going insane. Obviously, no speedrun is ever like unbeatable. But this was never about beating someone or getting beat. It was just about getting every trick and getting like a clean run across the board. Which I did. So I can happily retire with this.